there's some Revelator songs that I'm like, man, we got to bring those back. But we've done so many songs and albums. There's like so much to choose from that I guess we don't think about it all the time.
You need to get you a really good slide player in Nashville, and you guys need to cover a Derek Trucks song.
You know, he told me Susan wrote the song, which he was proud of. He said that with great pride, you know, the way you say nice things about your family.
From the first note with Tedeschi Trucks, they just blow you away.
Yes, we will. I wouldn't argue with anyone that says that could be my favorite song on I Am the Moon.
He, signs my ticket, and I look over at Susan. I say, Susan, would you sign it too? And she goes, oh, heck yeah.
Kevy calls me and was like, hey, man, what are you doing? I was like, nothing. He was like, Derek wants to record some tuba stuff. I said, when do you want to do it? And he was like, let's do it Wednesday.
It was Midnight Harlem. And it caught our attention, man. And we started diving deep, and we're like, okay, we got to see these guys.
What's up? Welcome to the unofficial Tedeschi Trucks podcast. This is episode number 176. I am Adam Choit. To follow the show at Tedeschi Trucks podcast on Instagram. Please subscribe on YouTube. I appreciate that. And on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on, I'll definitely be putting out an audio version of this episode tonight, tomorrow. I'll get that out this weekend for sure, the latest. We're on iHeartRadio and Odyssey as well if you listen to podcasts there. Please check out the Patreon too, patreon.com/TTB podcast to support the show. It's definitely appreciated as well. The second two tiers, part of your contribution gets donated to the Kofi Burbridge Music Matters Fund as part of the Mr. Holland's Opus Foundation, helping put musical instruments into the hands of kids, as well as helping with music education in general. So you're supporting me, you're supporting the show, you're supporting good causes all around. Definitely check that out. Patreon.com/TTB podcast. Thank you, Kathleen, Stacy, Troy, Daniel, Mariah, and Marion for supporting the show. I appreciate that. Today, what are we talking about? The Cap, 10-8, 10-9. These shows streamed on nugs.net. I did not catch every note start to finish, and that's part of the reason why I do these recaps, is to get the reports from the boots on the grounds, to feel like I was there, whether I was able to listen or watch the shows myself. But what I heard and what I saw looked great, sounded great, and it seems like everybody had a great time who was there, just based on the social media posts and all that. And there was a Gabe after party, which it sounded like you'll momentarily hear that a couple of my guests couldn't even stay out, weren't able to stay out late enough to even see the end of that. Like this band and these members could just play music all night, I guess. But it sounds like a fun week at the Capitol Theater. So let's bring in Randy and newcomer Chris Keszycki to tell me all about these shows. What's up, guys?
Hey,
Adam.
What's cracking? Chris, let's start with you. How are you and where are you? And tell me what night you went to the Capitol.
all right. So for Massachusetts, Franklin, Mass, so just outside of Boston. We went to the second night because I think that was like the first show that went on sale before the show was had, and I already had something booked that day. But going to the Cap is magical. It's a different venue. There's history behind it. So when you go in there, it's another level show. Anytime you go there. And when you see it like Tedeschi Trucks there, and when they come there, it's a whole nother level, you know?
How far is that a drive for you to get there?
About almost 3 hours.
Yeah, I was like Massachusetts, and that's in New York. That's not the same state. That's probably quite a bit.
Yeah, it's we have our routine, you know, we got our little places we stop in between before we go down there, but it was a tough ride back, especially when the show, I couldn't listen to the show because the archive's down.
Yeah, we can get into that, the archive.org or hacking and all that. But I wanted to ask, because this is your first time on the show, like a little bit about your musical background and like what you grew up listening to and what kind of led you to TTB and how many shows have you been to? And I can already tell just from interacting a little bit online or, off the podcast, but
Yeah.
and talking before we started recording that you're a pretty passionate music fan.
Yeah. Since a kid, always into music. This basically the first band that got into music was the Stones. And because of the Stones, they got me into the blues, The Stones were like, Keith Richards was like, you got to listen to Muddy Waters. So went in and listened to Muddy Waters. You go from there. From there, got into the Allman Brothers. Then went through my metal phase in high school, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Ozzy. But to get back to Tedeschi Trucks, it was interesting. I'm a big Black Crowes fan. I've been seeing Black Crowes since they first came out. I go to all the shows I can. And it was the Black Crowes Tedeschi Trucks tour, 2013. Was the first time I saw them, and I was just amazed. I'd never seen a band that big before. The most is like you ever see is like what, maybe 8. But to see a band that size and that sound and the power of Susan's voice and Derek's playing, then the highlight for me of that show was seeing Chris and Susan sing together, and you're like, why the fuck these two don't do it all the time? Their voices match so well, And they bring Chris out a lot at a couple of times at the Beacon, and the way those two, I mean, they should be doing an album together because those two voices just intertwine.
This has been coming up a lot because I keep saying I was on this State of America Black Crowes podcast, and they were talking about that 2013 tour. And what I keep remembering is how, I mean, this is not totally related to the music side of it, but that was towards the end of the Black Crowes, I guess.
Oh yeah, that was like
I don't know all the details and the chronology and the history of the Robinson brothers and all that, but these Black Crowes experts were saying if it were not for Derek and Susan and being on tour with TTB, things would have gone like way, way worse for Black Crowes, to the point where maybe they wouldn't have been able to reconcile eventually. But like, I guess TTB with them and Derek and Susan with them, it kind of forced them to like be around, like they were a good influence essentially on the Black Crowes.
I mean, they literally, before the Black Crowes broke up, they were talking about to make this like an annual tour. The Black Crowes and Tedeschi Trucks. It was going to be like what's this
Wheels of Soul kind of thing?
Yeah. It was going to be them touring with different bands added into it.
That would be a great choice, like one of my top choices for TTB to do shows with, because I'm a purist in the sense that I want every TTB show to be an evening with 2 sets, no guests.
Yeah,
like that's perfectly fine with.
Yeah,
but Black Crowes, I do love their music too, and I do cite them as one of the few bands, like I am from what do you call that? Oh, the 90s.
Yeah,
like one of the few bands of like when I was growing up, high school, college age, that like had a classic rock sound and weren't like pop punk, alternative, emo, metal, like some of these other genres that I was I guess less interested in. Some of the music that sounded like the Stones. The Stones were pretty much my favorite band also, like pre TTB, and I always make the connection, or often make the connection, that there's a Stones song for every and any mood I'm in, and there's a TTB song for any and every mood I'm in, from the happiest place to the real dark places that I can go to. There's TTB songs and there's Stones songs for those moods and every mood in between. How many times have you seen TTB live? And you can include Derek with Allman Brothers or DTB as well, like all that.
So it must have been, I must say, at least once or twice, starting since 2013. A year. Boston's like my 30 minutes from my house, so I used to do the Orpheum runs all the time. That was my favorite thing to do. Especially, it was awesome because the Orpheum runs were the last shows of the tour, and they always ended. And no matter what, I always got my first ticket I always bought was the last show ticket, because that was just balls out. Everybody pulled out the stops. Susan just went nuts because she didn't have to hold back or anything. She was like, this is it. I'm done. And it was probably, I still get goosebumps talking about those shows, like how crazy they were and just so great. And just the energy, because it was like, this is it. We're done. Time to go. You know, the holidays around the corner. Let's go.
People always seem to speak highly of those end of the year Orpheum, Boston, TB, Hometown Susan shows, but they don't speak as highly of the venue. But is there? I mean, I've never been, and I'm not familiar. But is there any aspect of it not being the best venue that makes it a little bit charming? Or
so the thing is, every person from this area who goes to the Orpheum has a love-hate relationship. It's old as dirt. The seats are nasty. They're like
tiny.
So talk about like I'm over 6'3". I'm 6'3".
Yeah.
I'm a big guy. Trying to sit in these seats like this, and and the bathrooms are like, like the Capitol's bathroom where you're like standing, but you have an angle over your head, so you're like this, trying to go to the bathroom. But the sound quality, the sound in that place is awesome. And it's another place of history. I mean, from the Grateful Dead to everybody's played there. And it just has such a great atmosphere. But, it
needs TLC.
I mean, they have done some nice stuff. They added new seats to the orchestra section. And they're nice, but the other seats behind it, forget about it. So basically the more expensive seats, the upgraded, the regular seats, forget about it. And and it's also one of the weirdest venues because you can get a good seat and you're looking at a freaking wall. So when they're talking about obscure view, they're talking about obscure views.
Got to get Dolan in there to. Maybe it kind of reminded me, like not in the like issues with it, but like even like thinking about maybe Randy can relate to the Nassau Coliseum, which was not the fanciest venue in the world, but that was probably that was not a historic falling of place place. It was just like a building built in the 70s that just kind of ran its course. Now they've since like refurbished it, remodeled it for concerts and stuff like that. Has TTB has not played the Nassau College? I mean, that would be an interesting.
It's big.
It's big, but it's not Madison Square.
No, it's not. But they also obviously, that's once in a blue moon. I mean, the Coliseum still holds 7, 8, 10,000 people. It's pretty big for them.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
I'd rather see them do like Radio City.
Yeah,
which is a little smaller.
Well, 9 maybe, but like just like if they're gonna play, I mean, they'll get more people in New York City than they would out in Nassau. I'm a Long Islander, so I'm certainly not being biased. It's this thing,
Yeah.
They, what it is the one in Huntington, the Paramount just got bought out by Live Nation, right? So a lot of people are upset about it. I'm going the other way. I'm thinking it's Live Nation. They usually get like B quality acts there. I'm thinking that maybe they get A, and they hold 2,000 there. I mean, there's no reason Tedeschi trucks can't play Long Island and Huntington.
That it'll just cost a little bit more. Is that because it's so small.
Well, yeah, and oddly enough, I had a conversation after the show with Bobby Teese about it, because I always joke with him. There's a local theater in our town, and I'm always like, I want to get TDB to the Theater 3 in Port Jefferson, and he goes, I tell you all the time, come to the table with the right amount of money and the band will do it. I go, I don't have that kind of money to get the band at Theater 3 in the local area, but I guess that's how they do like Ridgefield, the small show in Connecticut, where you're familiar, right? It's that's how they do those small one, like especially those fireside ones where they, Vogel, real small place that people pay a fortune for them to come do that.
Yeah, the cabin up here, Mass. They do that.
Yeah, they did that last year, right? Yeah.
Were the Ridgefield tickets like super duper pricey?
300, and then I had to become a member of the place first too.
And that's like an extra 30, 40 bucks or something.
It was like 120, and then I got the people to day of like give it to me for 30 because I'm like, look, I want to come to the show. I just want to spend another $100 on that thing. And they were like, yeah, you're not wrong.
Right. I see. Okay. Yeah. So the tickets they're not like outrageously more expensive, but they are significantly more expensive.
Yeah, and then the next day they were like 250 less, but I was like, they don't give me a refund. They weren't selling a ton of them, even in a small place like that. That it's not a very like populated area. That is, it was the middle of the week. I remember going up there, small middle school auditorium size, like tiny. Speaking of tiny, Capitol Theater is tiny, and the Capitol Theater is. I think the first time I was ever on your cast, Adam, a few years ago, I was ranting and raving about how great Red Rocks is, because outdoor venue, Red Rocks is my favorite in the nation. Well, that's exactly how I feel about the Capitol Theater inside. It's my favorite place to go. People are like, over the Beacon. I'm a stander over the Beacon. Not as pretty as the Beacon for anyone who hasn't been, or your listeners who might think about making a trip to Westchester, Port Chester, New York. It's not as pretty as the Beacon. It's not as pretty as the Wang. Everyone's been raving to me about the Wang. I didn't go, but I heard it's gorgeous.
The Wang.
Wang.
Yeah.
The King's Theater was utterly beautiful, like next level, ornate, gorgeous. The Capitol Theater is none of that, but it's got this amazing energy. I do 8 to 10 shows there a year. Obviously not TDB because they don't play there, but from anyone, J-Rad, Goose, Robelo's there, and I just never had a bad show at the Capitol Theater. I've never even had a remotely average show, because I think it's one of those places where the artists are so excited to play there as well. So you always give a little bit extra. You always get a little extra Dead vibes with which is never going to bother me. And they got all that Jerry paraphernalia and stuff in Garcia's, his guitars. They got pictures. They got all sorts. If you're a Dead fan, you haven't been to the Capitol Theater and you love Tedeschi trucks, it's like, perfect.
Oh, it's interesting. It's like to read the history about the Capitol and who's played there, and Jerry did his only solo acoustic show there, and it's not pretty.
No, they don't have this great marquee, right? No, they don't it's no big marquee. It's like it looks like they still have it closed down, and that Shapiro didn't reopen it and anything, but it's you walk in that place and there's some charm that's just, I don't know, unparalleled to me. Obviously, everyone's got their own experience, their own place, but to me, it's an hour from my house, hour and 10 minutes, and it's home for me. It's my favorite venue.
If I was closer, I would be there almost every week. There's always a great show there.
Yeah, speaking of which, Black Crowes are there in December.
Yeah, I'm there.
To segue your earlier sentiments, I said, "Oh wow, the Crows are here. I got to think about maybe going." It's like right before the holidays.
Is this it right here?
Yeah.
No. Well, that doesn't have because that's not the seats.
That's not the right to cap.
No, and that's not the.
No, it's not the ceiling.
That's not the wrong Capitol Theater.
So it's got 2,000 people capacity, 1,500 of which is GA, only 5 of it sitting upstairs. Now, of that 500, there's 3 rows in the loge, which are arguably the best view if you like to sit in the Northeast. The loge 3 rows are like you're on top of the stage. And then there's like 10 rows of balcony behind that. So even the furthest balcony, it's just such a small place. There's no bad seat in the house, and there's 1,500 people standing, so there's always a fun party on the floor.
That's
the right spot.
That's perfect.
This is not TTB, but
and then they have those presidential suites on the side, of which that middle right one is Shapiro's, because Phil Lesh is awesome. I see Dan's comments. Phil Lesh is awesome, and when they bring in the guests, like they brought in Marcus King to play the Jerry role. And they brought in Rick from Goose to do the Jerry role. Whoever the friends are, they do a great job over there at the Cat for Phil and Friends.
And it's interesting, like the people that you'll see, even in these balcony seats that Bashir, his ones. I was there for Goose, and Jimmy Fallon was there
Yeah,
in the seats.
yeah, and they played. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just, and I don't know if you can see this. I mean, the ceiling. Every once in a while, I catch myself looking up the ceiling, getting lost, and watching the psychedelic
yeah, because they have lights and it's
videos,
cool.
and oh my god, you'll just
last night they had the bats flying and stuff. If you were, if you were into maybe some substances, maybe the bats on the wall were a little bit more enhancing your experience. Maybe not.
They had the buffalo was running across the field.
Chris, have you been to the Sphere yet?
No,
you have, because I have not, but a couple of friends have seen Dead and Company at the Sphere, and that the way you're describing the lights and the visuals around the venue, it made me think of that. And with the Grateful Dead coming up in this conversation, that's something that I think both of you guys would probably super appreciate.
Honestly, Adam, it came up like 5 times over the weekend in the Cap, talking to people before the show started who have been out to the Sphere. First of all, it's weird because, in this day and age, you ever meet anybody where every single person that's gone has said it's amazing? You always have someone who's like, no, it sucks.
Yeah,
I've come across that person yet. I haven't heard one person tell me it's not an amazing time, which is just rare. And
regardless of how much of they're a Deadhead or a Grateful Dead fan or not, that's almost like irrelevant to their experience, and almost where they sit seems irrelevant because you can have a different experience. Whether
I heard it's actually the best upstairs. Trey said it's the best upstairs because you really actually don't want to be down low. You get less of a view of the screen and all the visuals. So he said, and then it's funny, he's talking about obviously going back there soon. Fish is going to go back there, and he's just playing the notes and learning how to play that place where it could reverberate off the walls. And he says just utterly crazy. Like you've seen the artist talk about the place is almost a reason enough to go yourself, because they're so wowed themselves by it, which is like next level technology.
Yeah. I mean, they literally had to learn to play differently because
there's no amp.
There's no amp, so they had to change the style, and not their style, but how they hear the music and everything for themselves.
Yeah.
It's still an amazing experience from what I gather if you're up close near the stage.
Oh, sure.
Versus like you're just committing to watching the stage versus watching the visuals, or having a balance between the two, I guess, depending on where you're staying. I can't speak.
See, the Cap is great. This guy yesterday I was talking to, my buddy Tom, props to Tom on who I see on the road. He was like, I don't feel like getting in early, waiting online and everything. I go to enough TDB shows where I'm like, yeah, but the thing with the Cap is you could be the last guy in the place in GA, and your seat and your spot is like what would be equate to like 20 rows back at a regular venue. Yeah. Like it's not far. Like it's so small in there that the worst GA spot is still really close to the band.
And the cool thing is everything's on an angle, so the floor is on an angle. So
is that cool? My back's hurting today. My legs
it kills
today. I love it, but I know what you mean. It's really cool, but it hurts your legs. You have to you put in the work on your legs, Adam, at the Cap. It's like it's definitely a workout. 2 nights in a row. I'm feeling it today.
Yeah, I mean, I went with a bunch of friends of mine and my son to go see Goose there.
4 nights.
And, we did 2 nights, and by the second night, my son's like, "Oh man, let's go out, let's go do this," and I'm like, "Dude, I'm sore, I'm tired," and he's like bouncing around. I'm like, "Fuck your youth, dude," because I was like,
and Adam, I'll give a shameless plug to TDB and the Cap, which is anyone that's been worked up with TDB and their ticket prices and everything else over the year, and everything is kind of a little, so $95 for a GA seat at the Cap. Right? There's 12 members of the band. How about this? Everybody gets $8. We'll go up on stage. Everybody could give Kevy his $8 for the night. This is what you were worth. Here's your Isaac. Here's your $8 for what you're worth. Like, stop it. It's ridiculous how cheap it is.
There is some there. That's an interesting way to look at things for sure. And to hear you guys like touting and the Cap, I'm using touting is the right word, but like the venue, the top venues have coming up, and I'm bringing this up in conversation too. And the Cap definitely cracks that top 5, top 6 between Beacon, Red Rocks, Ryman, Warner, Cap, and there's a few others. I know that people like St. Augustine and Bethel Woods, and the other, and even some of the recent ones, Kings and Wang Theater. People are there's good ones, but those seem to be like, as far as like the destination, quintessential, essential, must see TTB at venues where you're going to get the most hardcore fans and hardcore experience. It seems like those. And obviously, I guess the Orpheum would be the
for
what's
sure.
the number one?
Boston until now, it was always like it was the staple in Boston.
Oh yeah, it was the place for the shows like that, to go see,
Well,
but people like those other venues.
A lot of people have said it, but it's supposed to be the worst load in and load out. I talked to the fleet manager one time when I was roaming around. He said it literally is the worst load in, and if they never played there again, he'd be happy. This was in March, and then they didn't play there when they did the Wang and then MGM. So I think their days. Plus, we were talking about this like when you had Zach on last week in Boston. It's prettier at the Wang. It's prettier. It's like more seats, so they could sell a little bit more. I heard it was really, really pretty theater. That's next year's like must for me. I was heartbroken to not go up to Boston and can't make every single show.
It's a great theater. They just started bringing more like rock acts in the last 5 years. Like I saw Billy Strings there. Most of it is plays, show tune music, and comedians usually play there. Then
Gotcha.
Now it started like, you got your Tedeschi trucks. Ryan Adams was there. Wilco was there. So they're bringing it, slowly but surely more acts are there. More rock acts than it used to be the, Rudolph Christmas special or stuff like that. That was there for, like I used to go see with my kids, That's what I remember the Wang was. And
did y'all scoop up this poster?
Of course.
Of course.
I just haven't had a chance to put it on the wall yet. I just got home like an hour ago, I feel like.
Yeah, these are cool. I like the color.
Amazing. And I wish I knew, honestly, full disclosure, I wish I knew more about all these posters. I love listening to the show and hearing other people's, I go there online, I pick up the poster every single time out. And I barely know. And then, like I said, Portchester is one of my favorite venues. But I'm like, I don't know. I mean, the fish, like
the jellyfish. What's it really mean? Yeah.
I don't know. I was just I didn't know too much more what was like symbolic about White Plains, Portchester, Westchester area there.
Kirk Anderson was talking guest to the show. He was talking about just reaching out to the artists.
I think that's really cool.
I think because sometimes they'll tell you.
Yeah, I think like you said,
they'll tell you whatever they feel comfortable telling you, because there is something to be said for having some mystery in art.
Oh, of course.
Poster
I don't
art
think they give
music.
you full disclosure, but like I think you pointed out really well last time was I think they'd be complimented to talk a little bit about their work.
Oh yeah, for sure, and that people are interested in.
And then like obviously a fan that really wants to know. It's not just like oh, you're an artist. That it's like someone reached out to them. They clearly have a stake in the matter. They want to kind of know what's going on.
Right. Not as many people are looking for secrets and hidden messages in TTB posters, but maybe just a handful of Max Weso or Weso Art was the artist for this one, and that's
it was cool. They were selling besides these. They were selling these. I have one right here actually. They were selling these cool little Susan Tedeschi little green pink picks that went to like breast cancer. It was like Rock the Pink and everything. Guy was scooping them up, making necklaces out of them. You always get the fan who could do a little bit more with their souvenirs and stuff like that. But they the Cap always has cool gear. They got cool hoodies.
I picked up the pin. The
handed out cool pins.
No, did you get the Buffalo pin?
Yes.
So I picked up that. That was my thing I picked up the most. I wanted to get.
They did also hand out pins in when you walked in that were cool.
Yeah.
And they and then the chips this time were trombone black chips with trombone on them.
Yeah.
Cool,
Show me the what you were showing me before we started recording the bottle. Would you have something else there from what I gathered?
Honestly,
Randy?
so a quick little backstory is my buddy who I went with last night and I stayed over the night with. He put me onto Tedeschi about 5 years ago, and he's definitely the reason why I love this band so much because I knew Derek Trucks, but I just didn't know this band, and he was with me last night, and he's a huge bourbon drinker, and I bought him a bottle. And I was really hoping that it came before I left yesterday to go to the show. I was hoping it came so that I could bring it up there and we could sip on some at the Cap for the show, last show of the year together. But it didn't. It came today. So the old Ass Pocket Whiskey's in town today. So now I gotta, now we got to wait to St. Paul and the Broken Bones in next month in New York City, the Blue Note, which I haven't been there, but I heard that place is supposed to be incredible in New York City, a little jazz club. So we'll sip on Derek's Ass Pocket Whiskey in a month from now, and I'm pretty pumped to drink.
So you haven't had it yet?
No, I mean I'm drinking. It's just not. I'm not drinking Ass Pocket Whiskey. I'm really tired. I felt like it wouldn't have been a fair shot tonight. I was really beat after the 2 shows. I figured I'm going to rewatch the shows because I didn't see them on Nugs because I was there. So I'll rewatch them tomorrow and maybe open up one of the 2 bottles I got. One was for me and one was for my buddy.
That makes sense too when the mood is right and the right time and all that.
Yeah.
Why don't we get into
I think it's going to be probably pretty delicious. I don't think Derek's going to put out this like Fugazi product that he's cash grab that some people like to insinuate here and there.
No, everyone who's reviewed it or commented on it that I've seen is pretty pleased with the.
And then so I was wondering, and I asked Alicia. I asked Alicia at the after party because she was hanging out, walking around. I asked her if everybody in the red cups was drinking the Ass Pocket Whiskey because I felt like that's what they're all drinking. And she said she wasn't. She said she doesn't really drink when she's singing. She drinks water. But then one of my buddies sent me a feed from the Nugs feed, and you could see like the bottle on Derek Trucks' like stand is like clear as day. It's like that's what's going in his cup. So I was like, yeah, I mean, of course that's what they're all drinking. I mean, I wasn't like pretending to be smart. That's what I thought it was. But it was all red cups. It looked like it was it was a party.
It could be it, or it could just be them just making you think that, and they're just
I seen at the Wang, I saw Derek open it up and started pouring into cups.
Yeah.
It was like near the end of the show, just
right. Yeah, set 2.
Yeah, no,
towards the end of set 2, whatever.
Yeah, right before he's channeling the aliens.
Yeah,
he drinks a little, and it's funny because people have been like, people have been posting on the app and everything. They're like, Derek's been channeling aliens, and I go to a lot of shows, and the last few have been really exceptional. Like I think they're not wrong with it. And I'm wondering, is it the Ass Pocket Whiskey? Like, is he seeing nothing going to a next level because he's got a little buzz on at the show? He got
a nice little.
Yeah, I don't know, but he's taking it to different places. It's doing something.
And it could even affect you when he's not drinking, just having it existing and having it in his life, drinking it. Like it creates a different mood and a feel. And he's like, I don't know. It makes you. Just the whole idea of he's probably happy with how things are going with the product and that this exists and this is a cool thing and probably something that he's been interested in pursuing for a long time. And they have other passions outside of music, which is cool and makes them even that much more like relatable that they have these other interests. Drinking,
smoking, just
hanging out.
Regular stuff like any of us are doing on any day. They just happen to be amazing musicians.
That's pretty much it. Let's get into the music. Night 1, set 1, High and Mighty, Mojo Working, Do I Look Worried, Let Me Get By, Feel So Bad, Sweet and Low, Gravity, Caravan, I Want More, Soul Sacrifice, Mr. Charlie, Lottie Die, Ain't That Something, DMSR, Shame, Gilded Splinters, Don't Think Twice, Soul Sweet Song, Keep On Growing, Bound for Glory, and Show Me. This I did not catch like I was saying before we started recording that, I did not catch every second, every minute watching start to finish both nights. But what I did catch and see and hear was amazing, and I did catch the majority of this set, like stellar stuff. But I'll let you guys take it and tell me all about it.
Chris, be my guest, man. Go to town.
I wasn't here at the first show.
Oh yeah.
I listened to it on the way up. I gotta say, they did it at the Wang Theater, and I'm glad I was able to see it, but they're Mr. Charlie's just
so ridiculous.
So
we were driving in, and my wife went with me to the first night, and she hasn't seen Caravan yet live. I saw it in Richmond for the first time they brought it out, and I've been like we go to a lot of shows together, and I was really hoping for it. I actually said I think this might be the Deuces Wild with Van Morrison, but I actually thought it might be a lot of Deuces Wild, like 5 or 6 different ones, which it did turn out to be, because it was really supposed to be the end of the tour, these cap dates, and then they added those Southeast shows, right? So Caravan got played, and I was like instantly, like, the drive over, if I said, okay, here one song, it was Caravan, and then what, and it's not obviously a common one, so I was ecstatic after really from that moment on. And then that second set was honestly, I go to a ton. That second set was top 5 this year for me. It was maybe top 5 I've ever seen Tedeschi, to be honest with you. The whole second set, the place was outrageous. That Shame was, I think, the highlight of the night. It was outrageous. And Mr. Charlie, it's the cap, and everyone's dead fans. I was standing next to this guy who's like 80 years old. There were probably like 15 people throughout the song that came over to this guy and gave him like a huge hug. So I I go over to him, I go, you don't like the Dead by any chance, do you? So he goes, it was really funny. Just like his whole family, everyone was like just going up to this guy, hugging this guy, like that they played Mr. Charlie. It was like it was such a euphoric feeling in the building, especially for those Deadheads. And it was awesome. It was amazing. That's
so interesting the way you described that, because like I could picture like the version of that for me would be like if I'm at some other show and a lot of people there happen to know, or few people know me or know something, and then the band covers like a TTB song.
Yeah.
And it's like an emotional moment for whatever reason. If they play, I don't know, It's So Heavy or whatever the hell they play. Like I can picture people coming up to me.
It's funny you say that, because we go out to you're familiar probably, Adam, but in Long Island there's this great farm out east. It's called Harbs, and we go out there, and there's a band every year, and the chick, she's been there a few years. She plays Angels from Montgomery every year. And it's like year after year now. The family's like, oh, you must be like ecstatic. And I'm like, I mean, I see Susan do this 8 times a year, but yes, for farm stand in Long Island, I'm ecstatic when anyone's doing Angels from Montgomery.
It makes you immediately think of TTB anytime you hear a song that TTB does. Maybe even you hear a different artist that TTB often covers, be like, oh, that's TTB adjacent enough for me. I'm loving this.
Yeah. So some people were saying they thought too many covers the second set, or just the show. I mean, the whole second set was covers, but the whole first set really wasn't.
You can say that about. I mean, it looks like a lot of covers, but then when you break it down, it's pretty,
and it was incredible, cover after cover. Like, I mean, by the time they played, what is it? Keep on Growing. This guy who was going up to the older guy next to me, he was massaging my shoulders. I never met this guy in my life. He's like, they're not really doing Keep on Growing. He was so fired up out of his mind. It was such an energetic section. Cap is funny, right? So it's GA. So we first set, I got in pretty early at an unbelievable spot, 5 rows, probably dead center. But then I like to go outside at the intermission, and I didn't have anybody hold my spot, so it's just like I know I'm not going to get the same spot coming back.
Yeah.
All good. I liked the vibe. My second set even better. There's just better people around that like really enjoyed the music. So it was a little further away, but there's no bad spot in the cap, and the people around me were just like, it really, really, like I said, from Mr. Charlie on, it was like, and they did Walk on Gilded Splinters, which was like this such a crowd pleaser. Like it's so ruckus in there, because everybody's like, even the people that know TDB, like everyone can kind of know it's coming, and it's like it really gets everybody crazy, and then
gets everyone up.
It was really Bound for Glory, Show Me. I mean, just like nonstop, just fire from Derek all night long, really there, and that second set was crazy.
A lot of energy. I counted up 11 originals, so it's not like they're playing like half originals, but like it's always like a balance and a decision to make how many. Because when I guess they're covers, it's almost like they have to cover different sort of different artists. They have to, if they choose to do their Allman Brothers thing, their Clapton thing, their Derek Dominoes, their whatever.
Van Morrison.
Whatever.
This one was Van, right? Yeah, and then they obviously the second night they did Into the Mystic. Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, I thought that Derek's he's like a curator with that. He's really surgical with the set list, and I felt like it was just knocking them off. Like, oh yeah, this was going to be like the last 2 shows. We'll do all the Deuces Wild. We'll do them all. Like we'll do 2 Dylan. We'll do 2 Clapton. We'll do 2 Dead. We'll do 2 everything, and just like that's what they did.
I wonder how long it takes to create the set lists actually, like in like time. Is it like an hour, or is it like something you could do in like 15
Yeah, is he like
minutes?
on the bus ride over and he's like doing it on there, or is it like
essentially from what I understand, it is like fairly late in the game when the set lists are
because
created.
they play so much. It's not like he could give it like really a lot of time. He's like he's got to worry about the current show, right? Like,
yeah,
so...
you can't make the set list in Des Moines 3 weeks.
No, but I'm putting money on that. They have a set. They have a sheet. So they have information like last time we were at the
database.
Last
I forget
time
the name of the app they use. Bobby
Yeah.
T told me the name of the app or whatever.
They probably have like, last time we were at the Cap, we played this song, and this. So let's.
That goes into consideration for sure.
100%.
Does every band do that? Do other bands do like even care? They don't care. They just say, "I'm playing our hits and the same show every night."
Every night, yeah. So it doesn't matter what venue they're in or what city they're in.
I'm sure a handful of bands, like maybe like Fish or Pearl Jam or some of these other bands.
Any of those bands that are like that are the ones that you could see every night. Any of the ones that you could kind of go travel and see every night.
I think those are the people that Derek and Susan. I don't remember if it was Derek or Susan, and both of them have expressed this like thought in so many words that they really love the other musicians and artists out there who are doing it right, like who do it the right way, so to speak. And those were pretty much the terms I've heard them both use in various interviews over the years. And like those are the types of bands that like, they have the ultimate respect for, who have the giant catalogs and tour and been at it. And,
yeah, they switch it up. They don't play the same thing over again.
I guess it's something to be said to be maybe a little forgiving with like maybe older artists. I guess that there's something for that, but like, I don't know. There's certain bands that don't need to be doing that are not like in their age-wise 70s and up and like boomers or whatever. Like dudes and bands who are in their like 30s, 40s, 50s who are like should be in the midst of their creative prime, yet they're playing the same hits and like set lists every night. I won't name names. Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, that's not even Guns N' Roses anymore. I don't know who you call that.
Well, in the same way if Tedeschi Trucks if Susan and Derek were still doing a project, could you call it Tedeschi Trucks Band if it was with completely different people?
It's just
the fan base would be outraged. Half the fan base wouldn't care.
Yeah, right. You're right.
But I mean, as long as we've been fans, I mean, how many members have come and gone and changed and everything in that band? I mean,
a lot, but a lot have stayed too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think for the amount of years, it's actually not that much turnover.
Exactly. That's a good way of putting it. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we had
people were like people still
O'Teal was in it for a while. I mean, like when I first saw him, O'Teal was in it.
Yeah,
we lost Kofi.
Yeah, people are still struggling like with the whole trumpet. They don't realize like Efren's like not there, and that it's Marcus King's trumpet player, and that on the days that Marcus King does not have shows, we're gonna get him. Yeah. So we got Justin Johnson on Tuesday night because they didn't have a show. And I looked at all this up beforehand, so I kind of figured because this has been the blueprint. And then on Wednesday, Marcus King was in Portland, and I said to myself, he's not going to be there Wednesday night. And right off the bat, there were only two mics at the horns, so you knew from try to use a little intelligence, and so you knew he wasn't going to be there. But I was thinking, and I believe me, I'm the last guy in the world who I'm thinking like a God forbid worst case scenario, right? Because I'm practical too. If let's say Efren never rejoined this band, like would they try to like, people do it all the time. Would they try to poach this guy? And I just heard the other day though, he's from Greenville, which is where Marcus King is from. So that means he's an original band member. And I don't know if he leaves Marcus King's band, but he's got to be having the time of his life. This guy's going from city to city every night. He's working overtime, but he's probably getting paid and playing some amazing trumpet. He's really good.
I feel that. Go on, Chris.
He was, because it was funny because like he was at MGM in Boston,
but not Wang,
and not the Wang, and like I was like, what happened? I didn't know he was from Marcus King's band.
Yeah. He's good. He's very good.
He has his own sound. You can hear it when it's different, and it makes sense like that. Like,
and to be honest with you, the three of them
Derek needs
the help, but like Derek's getting better at the shows that he's at, making sure that those are the ones that they're going to incorporate, obviously, the trumpet in. So like they did Show Me the first night, like I saw them do How It Feels to Be Free with no trumpet, and I was like, it's so weird. And then I haven't just seen them do that again, because I think really Derek realized, like, if we're going to do that, we got to do it the night we have the trumpet player. Like,
because we've been trained, especially the when they play that song for the last plus years, where Ephraim.
That's what I mean.
That was Ephraim's moment, essentially.
It's one of Ephraim's like really few solos in much of their catalog.
Yeah, he doesn't. I don't know. I'm just guessing. He never. I don't know, but maybe he never really pushed too much for the
spotlight.
Exactly, and I'm sure they appreciate that. And obviously, we know when Derek crafts the set list, he's trying to factor in when is everyone going to get their moment too.
And before everyone loses it on me, full disclosure, I hope Ephraim's back in 3 weeks when they rejoin him in the Southeast. I'm not looking to get rid of Ephraim. He's incredible, and as much as I love Justin Johnson, he's not Ephraim. Ephraim's incredible.
And you can't replace the chemistry that the three of them have built over the years. And I think that's really what catches me off guard when I've listened to the recordings with Justin Johnson. It's not that they're bad and not that he's better and not that he's worse. It's just that he's not Ephraim. It's different. And he doesn't have that chemistry, and I can't even articulate what that is exactly.
Well, then it's funny because Chris's point's like, oh, the band's had turnover. It's like, but and I haven't been I haven't been the fan of the bands as long as you guys and a lot of people, right? So since I've been really a fan of band, there's really been no turnover. So it's right. So I'm like in my head, I'm like, no way. Like, but it happens to bands all the time where, but in my head, I'm like, no way. Ephraim's got to be back come the Southeast in 3 weeks from now, and they're in New Orleans or whatever that first show is. Right. Like
that's the only fear, is that we won't get more music. Not that we won't love the music more than anything else in the world. We're not worried like, oh my God, what if I Have the Moon isn't good? Like, that's not like a thought. The only thought is like, how many more albums are we gonna get? Are they writing? Are they recording? When's the next tour? What are they going to play tonight? That's like the biggest. What are they going to play?
Yeah, I know a lot of people know this, but I got it confirmed to me yesterday via Bobby T's. He said, outright, and that no, they're not. The next show is after these ones is May at Miramar Beach. They will be 6 month break. And
6 months. Didn't Susan and Derek say 4 months?
Well, I think it's like he's looking at November through, like, because when do those shows end? The last shows of those are like end of November, right? I think it's right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's what they usually do.
Through May is basically the 6 months. So we'll see if there is something in between.
I'm going to be messaging every person on that band and crew trying to get them on the podcast.
He said studio album. He said studio album.
Right, and it's going to be probably, I think from what I gather, it's going to be a big endeavor. I don't know if it's I Am the Moon grandiose.
Yeah, right. But I think had COVID to do that. You had
right. I think it's going to be a quantity of music. I expect a big thing for sure. But in speaking of the COVID times, I think partly that and partly the fact that TTB does have so many different like lineup changes within a show. I've been kind of trained to just like, if it's Derek and Susan and 80% of whatever exists, like it's going to be awesome, because with that and the fireside and it just gives you a different sound. Like,
well, yeah, you're right.
You're getting like the skeleton version and almost like a stripped down version, and that is intriguing in a way itself to hear like Derek and just figuring out what's essential to play. Don't Let Me Slide or whatever.
Right, because all bands don't break it down where there's like half the band. Like we do get different personnel. We get the fireside with 6 of them. We get different things. So I think being able to vision November 16th.
Is that the day of reckoning?
That's the last day, right? I know. And I told my wife, like, when I heard this, I was like, and you think I've been crazy going? It's like, I'm not going between November 16th and May. If they're not playing anywhere, I can't go if they're not playing. So
you have other shows in between.
I mean, there's other bands, but it's just they're my band, right? So it's like there'll be a lot less traveling. It's really it's a little solemn.
That would have been my grandmother's 105th birthday, November 16th, for whatever that's worth. I don't know if that's relevant to the conversation.
Happy birthday, Graham.
Yeah. Grandma up in heaven or wherever.
But I mean, just talking about like going back to the Cap.
Yeah, I want to take up
2 years
ago. Night too.
Was it like 2 years ago they played the Cap?
Yeah, it was 2022, right?
Yeah. Did you like? We were going into the show. I remember me and my wife. We walked in, and of course, as always we do, we go right into Garcia's. We get a drink, and there's this jazz band playing. I'm not paying attention. I'm trying to get my drink, and Renee, my wife's talking to me, and we're like, and I turn around, and I'm looking at the stage, going, I'm like, what the fuck's? It was the horn section doing a jazz show.
Yeah.
Before it was freaking cool to see them that close. We went all the way up to the front to see them, doing it. It was
it's our first place. It's tiny. It's like,
yeah.
I was trying to use the bathroom yesterday in Garcia's after the party, and it's like I bumped into Kebby, I bumped into three other people. And I mean like literally bumped into them trying to just like get her.
He was around the corner.
Tiny in there, and they're on stage, and it's like I'm like, I feel like I was in the way. I'm like in the very I'm like staring Gabe in the face. I'm maybe 3 feet from the guy. I'm like, I feel like I'm a little too close. Like this guy's let me go to back of this place.
Yeah,
that's where I ran into Brandon and Alicia back there. They were hanging out, having some drinks, and supporting their bandmate and everybody. It was cool because I mean, they're always good for that, obviously, sticking around and showing love to their other fellow bandmates. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that you don't see, and it's what the Capitol brings is the unknown and the magic.
I agree.
There is something in that venue. I think a couple years ago we went up to see JJ Gray and North Mississippi All Stars. I love North Mississippi All Stars. I'm a big fan. And JJ was like, "There's just something here." He's like, "It was his first time playing there." He goes, "There's just something in this place."
That's everybody.
He's like, it is. There's just a vibe in this place I can't explain. He goes, "It's just." He goes, "Now I understand why Jerry liked this place." He was like,
"Well, it's so funny you say that because I'm like, so we ran into a bunch of the band members, but I didn't run into Susan. I ran into Derek, and I'm like, the amenities must be nice here. They're not chilling around. Like they must have a cool like backstage for the band, right?" And my buddy looks at me and goes, "Dude, what do you think was Jerry's favorite place? The place has got to be amazing that they cater to the artist. The whatever that is, the room that they're in or whatever." Yeah. But Jerry loved that place, and it had to be more than just because he enjoyed Port Chester, New York.
Yeah,
and,
there's just something there that's just the sound, the energy, and then, like I said, the people who work there love music. It's just not like this is my part-time job I do, or this is my full-time. The people who there love music. I mean, you've seen it. There's all these.
Oh, and I think it starts from the top because if you ever, I've had the pleasure of talking to Pete Shapiro a few times.
Yeah,
and I tell him, and he loves it. He's like, I think he loves the he loves the fandom and a little bit being a star. So I always tell him though, when I run into him, I'm always like, I have no shyness. Tell him that Cap's my favorite place in the world. And now I've seen him enough times where, again, he doesn't know my name by any means, but he recognizes the face. And I go Shapiro. He goes, I go, the Cap's just the greatest place on earth. He goes, I also think that, but it's nice to hear you guys all feel that way. So it's like, and this was actually leaving Tedeschi when he told me that was on this platform of the train station and leaving the Beacon in March for Tedeschi. So he had just been to another great venue. Obviously he doesn't own the Beacon, Dolan owned, right? But he agrees. He thinks the Cap's just as great as all of us. So I think that's where it starts is like, and he that place is like his, Brooklyn Bowl's amazing, but it's not the Capitol Theater.
No,
nothing.
It's just something that it's hard to explain.
You guys are doing a great job.
I'll take it back to Black Crowes. First time I was there was to see the Black Crowes. They did an acoustic show there. It was a 5-night run of acoustic shows.
Is there audio video of that on YouTube?
Was this As the Crow Flies?
No, this was the
earlier.
Yeah, this is before the second breakup.
Okay.
They played there, and it was all acoustic, and it was awesome. And at the end, Joe Russo came out and played with them,
which is awesome. Yeah.
There's an audio recording out there. You got to look for it. I mean, if Archives gets back up.
So when they played there in 2022 and they did the 3 nights to Tedeschi, that was the last time they were there. Shapiro came out at the end and gave him a trophy and was like,
I remember
"Thanks for rocking our soul." Like he was, and that's why I write that a lot. It's literally it's me paraphrasing from Shapiro. I write that because he was so wowed, and I'm like, this guy sees 100 acts a year at this place, and there's something for that when the owner's like. So last night it was over. Second set was over, and they finally done right. But the lights are going on and everything, and he's sitting up in his president's suite. And the place is tiny. And I look over, I yell to him, I go, Shapiro, how about a few more songs? Because that's me. I'm a little boisterous New Yorker. And he looks over at me, he goes, keep it rolling. They can do whatever they want to do in this place. And I'm thinking like, I wish the band heard this and they like, yeah, let's do a third set. Like, let's have one of those.
That's a unique thing to TTB, whether it's Shapiro, whether it's a fan who's loved TTB for 10 years, whether it's any of us, is just the fact that we know we're seeing like something special like on this stage that's like even it makes me think of like Bob Ozzie, who was that Farrell's been on the podcast a couple of times. Was that one of I think it was at night one when he was on the podcast. I think the first time he was basically saying like, I've been to 1 million concerts. Like he's been seen so many legendary acts that are Rock and Roll Hall of Fame from 60s and 70s, like all of them. And like, he's like, nothing compares to like this band and that other dude Ulf it's Ulf, right? In Australia.
Anytime that guy wants to come to the States, I got him a ticket to anywhere he wants.
I want to get.
I want to sit next to that guy with his passion.
I almost wanted to ask. I should have reached out to see if he watched the stream. I was like, "What time is it in Australia?" Because I just wanted.
Where was he? Perth, Australia?
I forget where.
12 hours or something. Yeah, it's got to be ridiculous. This guy's getting that show in the morning.
But the way he articulated TTB being the culmination of all his musical tastes and all his favorite artists over the years, and getting all of that in one show is like such a.
I love when he was like, he basically was like, yeah, I mean. I didn't know who they were a week ago. I went out and bought every CD. Like, first of all, who buys CDs these days, right? He's like, I went out and bought every album, and I'm like, this is so great.
Maybe he meant that as like a figure of speech, whatever. I've been diving into the.
I feel like he really bought the stuff though. That he didn't download it. Like he bought the albums online somewhere.
Well, I essentially collect albums.
Yeah,
more than
of course.
I'm
You've been following the band for years. He knew them a week ago before he was on your cast. Like it
doesn't matter. That's the thing.
I love that. That's what I mean. Is though he was that fired up, and he had just found this band a week prior.
Yeah. Oh, super. Yeah, no, it's a unique thing, and the fan base is unique too. Because I've talked to like every fan base is different, and TTB is not as big as Fish or Dead or some of these other bands, but there's definitely something unique and special about like the community. What I was looking up as you guys were talking was like, what are spiritual qualities associated with the Capitol Theater? And you guys have kind of covered it all: historical legacy, Grateful Dead connection, psychedelic atmosphere, the lights and all that, the architecture, the acoustics, a place where people connect, and kind of the energy and vibe. And it's just everybody feels that, whether you're own the place or first timer or.
There's a girl behind me who was at her first show, and I love it. To me, it's like I didn't know her at all, but to me, it's like great. I kind of like stare to see like what their reaction is, because I'm kind of like. I don't want to be appalled if they're like, just don't think the band's that great. So I'm like looking like, and I hear the people behind me talking like, oh, so how was how'd you like it? And she was like, you could tell she's stunned. And that's everybody. I mean, whether that's like you were taken there because it was a date and somebody could get a $95 GA and that's not a bad price to pay, or whether that was your 40th show. It's just the level of afterwards. I think after the show is over, everybody kind of feels the same, which is like, there's just no way that's the last time I'm seeing this band, even hopefully not this week for me. Some people, it's like, obviously depending on what it is, but I I love everyone's been throwing out the I want more, but that's really what it is, right? It's just like, it's church. And I've been really using it so often lately to everybody. And people in my family, as everyone knows on the cast, it's like, they don't always look at the band the same way you do, but I've been really, really making analogous to church. And I've been throwing it out to people like, so last night was my 18th show for Tedeschi for the year. And I asked people like, how many times you go to church this year? And they're like, oh, I go once a week. And I'm like, which means you went once a month. So really, like, you went 12 times to church this year. I went to see my church 18 times this year. And I promise you, my church is way cooler than yours. So, really, I mean, anyone that thinks it's too much or it's crazy or this or that, it's like, I don't ever feel that it is. It's like, that's what it is, a religious experience for me every time out. And it just never doesn't do it. Never doesn't feed my soul.
Yeah, no, I agree. The latest show is the best one. We always say that. Let's get.
Well, I sent Adam a text saying that the second set first night was like one of the best I've ever heard, and he was like, "Yeah, you say that every show." Like,
we all do. We all do. Set 1, night 2, anyhow. Then Here My Dear, Playing With My Emotions. It's So Heavy. Statesboro. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Trying Over You. Ball and Chain making an appearance. Yes, We Will. Idle Wind to close out set 1. Preaching Blues. Don't Let Me Slide. Into the Mystic, Any Day, Part of Me, 1999, Made Up Mind, Angels, Sugary, Learn How to Love, Key to the Highway, and then Let's Go Get Stoned for the encore. I heard all of set 2. I did not catch much of set 1. I will say that. Ball and Chain, when was the last time they played that?
I mean, I think that's the first time I heard it this year.
Yeah, I don't.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Again, like, you never know what you're going to get. So many of these shows have like new stuff popping up, and maybe the last one didn't have anything new or totally unexpected, and you're still gonna have a stellar show, but like, what band every other show is playing something that's odd or something that they haven't played in a while, or like
that Idle Wind they've been closing the set with, it's just it's the next level. Really amazing.
Into the Mystic, when I was listening to that, I couldn't place the song because they kind of flipped around the way the arrangement was like a different arrangement.
You don't hear
cool.
that the horn section.
Yeah,
is not as.
And did you hear like Bound for Glory the first night? They've been adding a little bit of horns where they don't usually play the horns. I noticed that. I think this was the first show. I noticed that little added something in you hear it 100 different times.
I think something that did come up. I don't know if this was a Justin Johnson show or
the first night was. This wasn't, but this
was
played Bound for Glory. It was, yeah.
On nights when they don't have Justin Johnson, there is something to be said for like it being opportunity for both Kebby and Elizabeth to do a little extra, perhaps, and maybe they embrace like that opportunity to have some extra shine and like whatever that means, whether it's playing more parts or playing louder.
People probably heard it on the stream, but end of the first show, Mark had no voice and Show Me, like you could tell like something's up. He's either like sick or he's like just run out of voice for the tour. And I mean, it was like Mark, that's so not Mark, right? So when they did Made Up Mind, they did Made Up Mind the second night, they didn't even do his verse. They didn't even do, if you go back and listen, they didn't do the whoa, like, and they all pointed and laughed at him, like, yeah, he's it, like, it was like they did like a total pros, but like,
but he was still on stage.
Of course, he did like exactly, like you show up to work still, even if he's not feeling 100%, right?
Right. No, that's. I hope everything seems like it's okay if they're making.
Like I said, I think it was just either had no voice or like literally was like cold, which I mean, you get sick, right? Everyone gets sick. Me and my wife always marvel at it. Like 12 of them, we see them often. Like, how is nobody ever sick? How does Sue not get sick?
As a lot of interviews I hear, and best thing I heard was Steve Gorman from the Black Rose would say, you don't get sick on tour. It's the day the tour stops, everything hits you. He goes, everybody gets
sick. That's me today, Chris. That's me today. I'm done with my tour, and I'm like, I feel a little like a head cold. I feel like I'm gonna get sick, and I'm like,
because it's the adrenaline and everything else that keeps you going. It's like once that stops, and nothing keeps you.
And you also sometimes like, I'll tell myself, and I'll almost like be extra careful even before coming up to like a TTB show. Be like, oh, I can't get sick before XYZ. I definitely can't get sick before I'm traveling. I'm going.
Adam, I could be sick, and it's just like, when COVID was going on, it was like the only rule was, me and my buddies, was just don't test. Don't go make it positive. Like you have a cold, you come join us. We'll still hit the cone together. Just don't make it a thing, bro. Don't go test. Don't do anything silly where you're not gonna be in the venue. Like just handle your business. Don't call mom and dad asking them what they think you should do. You just go to the show. You have a good time. Everyone has a good time.
Bring your own cone.
Yeah. Well, that's funny because the guy I was rolling with. So I met this guy Ian. Give him a prop. I met him Long Islander. He's been coming. I went to the 3 of the 4 New York City shows, 2 Beacon, 1 Brooklyn with him. Just met him like 3 weeks ago. He's a really cool dude. Went with both Cap shows with this guy, drove him in, right? And he drove me a few shows. He wasn't feeling well. So he was like, yo, I don't want to get you sick. I'm just going to hit my own cone tonight. Cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate the, but yeah, exactly. You nailed it. Hit your own cone.
Bring your own cone. Oh, we can get back to the set list. I don't want to take up too much more of your guys' times. I definitely appreciate the stories and the recap. We could do this all day too.
Yeah. I gotta say, I'm such a huge John Prine fan, and always love to hear Susan do Angel from Montgomery. And when she goes into Sugary and the whole place is singing, I mean, singing. I mean, you could hear it off the walls, and it was just, it's going to church. It's so spiritual and everything. And the thing that you can't, it's just something at that venue, and hear them singing that song, and everybody singing along with them is just.
So 2 years ago when they were there in 22, right? They opened the second set. She did full Sugary, which is rare, and everyone loves it, right? So this was an interesting one. She didn't do the full Sugary, but she didn't do her normal 1 verse. She did 2 of the 3 verses in Sugary, right? So it was like the mid Sugary, we'll call it, right?
Yeah,
which is awesome. Because they always keep you guessing, and beforehand, of course, me and my friends were like, "We can get the full Sugary tonight." Deuces Wild with Mr. Charlie, and it was like she gave you a little more than the 1 verse, but she didn't do the full one.
What are the top Grateful Dead related venues that TTB plays besides the Cap? I
see they weren't Beacon guys, they weren't.
Yeah,
right?
Beacon.
Is it? I mean, I guess the venue is, it could be the venue or the city, but I guess the venue is what I'm asking. But even maybe Berkeley. I think
totally Berkeley out when they play those shows, and they live stream those ones too, right? Last time they were out in Berkeley,
Even I think they do like a Lake Tahoe show, which brings a lot of people from the Berkeley area. I remember.
Well, even Saratoga is a very special place and up there, and that's a cool. We went up there, me and my wife, for the first time to see Dead and Company, and that place is unbelievable.
SPAC?
The SPAC.
Yeah. So TDB there. It was amazing. Yeah, the place is great.
Bay Area and upstate New York and the surrounding areas around there. Those are the kind of the deadhead hotspots.
Yeah, and then like really all through Boston, like where he in Massachusetts, all through there, obviously, huge presence in Massachusetts, and and then obviously on San Francisco, gigantic,
Cool. No, this I mean, what I heard from this show was just straight fire. The Preaching Blues is just
that was good.
Who can do that? Who can do like what Derek does? What band is like? North Mississippi All Stars are pretty good, and as are Black Crows and Marcus King and these other bands that we mentioned. But I don't know, just.
So Adam, you're talking about we always talk about Derek and Susan shows, right? Like, oh, this was a Derek show, this was a Susan show, right? So second set, this was a Mike show, and when I tell you,
he did, because my wife's like, Mike's singing a lot today.
Yeah, so when I tell you that 1999, it was the best 1999 I've heard yet. It was honestly, and I didn't think I'd ever say this. I'm not the world's biggest Prince fan, but I'm not like a Prince hater either. And I agree with you. Best Super Bowl halftime show, not even close, right? But I was with a huge Prince fan, and that 1999 I think was the best song of the night. And I didn't know if I'd ever say that at Tedeschi Truck Sound. It was outrageous. It was, and then Any Day might have been the next best song, which was another Mike song, obviously. Just really. Unbelievable. That to me, that was and then really kind of right into Angels, Sugary. Like it just didn't stop really, I guess, most of their shows.
Then to end it with Let's Get Stoned, which is
awesome. I just been hearing it like a ton. I've been hearing it, I feel like 3 out of every 4 shows. So I'm always hoping for a Space Captain, or honestly, like even just something totally different. Like you got Sly and the Family Stone in Brooklyn, which is always a fun ending. I really I missed the Letter. Boston show is like the only shows I missed.
Yeah, that was awesome, because I haven't seen them do the Letter since the Orpheum.
They played Bethel. They did it. I wasn't at that one. When I was at 18 shows this year, and I've yet to see the Letter, and it's like evading me, and it's like my thorn in my side. I'm like, they got to do this.
I compare going to concerts is like collecting baseball cards when you were a kid. You go to open a pack, you might get a great pack, or you might get a pack. It's like, but you always have that one you're chasing, That's a great thing. I love that when you have to. There's a song that you're chasing around, hoping to get.
Totally.
If I'm listening to TTB like the day before going to a show or that couple of days up until, I'll sometimes have a thought, oh, maybe they should play this. I hope they play this. Maybe they'll cover this. But then when the show starts, I forget about every single thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't really chase songs, I guess.
I do, definitely. I woke up on Tuesday, I guess it was the first night, and I was like, I woke up in the morning, and I know I'm not the only one who's ever said this. And I got in the shower, and I was like, I really want to hear Shame tonight. And then they crushed Shame the first night. I was like, friggin' awesome. Like, again, not something they do every single night. It's not like, or every other night, if you will. Like, it's not Midnight in Harlem, which they didn't do either the 2 nights at the Cap, which I was like, if when we ever to put a bet down that they're going to do it, they don't, they keep you guessing on everything. Yeah, it was, that Shame. I wanted Shame and Caravan the first night. I got both of them. And second night, I really, I wanted a full sugary. Got 2/3 of it, and a Key to the Highway, one they haven't been rocking at all lately. I feel like they've been pulling out a lot of the lock-in lately, right? Like, or that and
the Layla stuff.
Yeah. And then they've been pulling out a lot of live from Oakland. Like Mike's been doing Crying Over You a lot lately. They've been bringing that back out.
And, that's great. That's awesome that they brought back that. Mike is such a vibe. Like the 1999 definitely like jumps out at me and stood out at me as something from that. And it makes sense that like you might think it's your favorite or the best version that you ever heard, even if you're not able to articulate exactly why. It's just the fact that they played the song a handful of times now, so it would make sense that it would get like that.
And I'm telling you, like the crowd was just fired up during that song. It was like I'm sure somebody has an awesome video on YouTube, but check out that. I mean, to me, it was like it might have been the most energetic part of the night. With the crowd was like really feeling everything Mike was throwing out there, and it was like, you would have thought it was a place Prince used to rock because it was really just amazing.
There's something, at least on one, even whether it's a moment, a song, a part, almost every show, on every album they do, like there's something that Mike brings to the band that's a unique flavor, a unique vibe, a unique atmosphere. Yeah. Like even if 1999 is just like they're just doing they're making it a blues song. It's a blues song. It's not super like unique.
It's nothing like the original. There's
but in terms of
it's interesting. It's a different
right, but
range.
it's a fairly standard kind of blues way that they're doing it, but it's so atmospheric and it takes you to such a different place than everything else. That's
baby. Sorry,
played that night.
My Yankees just made it to the next round, so I'm a happy guy.
Oh, congratulations!
Welcome, and I know your Mets, Vance. So now I'm there with the second team of 4.
You know what I was struggling with, to go on a baseball tangent. I was struggling with like why I was trying to figure out who do I want to win this series, the Royals or the Yankees? Do I not care?
You want a Subway Series?
I'm not a Yankees hater, but I don't root for the Yankees. Certainly, I don't like them. It's funny when they lose to me. But the Mets lost their last 2 World Series to those 2 teams, so both of them trigger me in a way.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. The Mets have been. My buddy who I was with put me on TDB. He's a gigantic Mets fan. We actually did his bachelor party. We went to travel on the road to see the Mets and all that jazz because he's such a Mets lover. But they've been so entertaining. And it's been, even as a Yankee fan, like I feel like they do have that destiny beside them this year. It's been fun. I'm hoping we get I'm passionate New York. I hope we get that Subway Series.
Yeah, and I'll confess, I missed some of the first set because I was paying attention to the Mets Phillies yesterday. I'll admit it. It's true. But
really, it was funny. Like, I went because I was up front to the corner, on Derek's side. And, we walked out, my wife were like, all right, let's go smoke. And we went out and you look out in the lobby and there's everybody's heads watching the game.
Yeah. See,
they had it on. It was awesome. Yeah.
So
in the lobby beforehand. And everything.
During set breaks, they throw it on. They had it on and all that.
Yeah, for me, I have to. I mean, yesterday was a pretty great day for me personally. Like the fact that I'm able to celebrate the Mets advancing to the next round in the playoffs, and I get to hear all this live and see this live Tedeschi Trucks Band music. That is just like
Adam. Picture me, right? I'm at a show. My team's on. I'm tuning in. Some people giving me updates. You know, I'm looking, but I'm at the show, so I'm obviously not staring at my phone. Which you could tell where the loyalty lies. I knew it could be baseball playoffs, but I still didn't not opt for the Cap tickets.
Oh, I was at the Beacon during the last time when the Mets were last in the playoffs versus the Padres and were losing. So that made me feel better in a way. It's like, oh, at least I didn't miss the shows. I was at the shows watching the Mets not score runs.
Yeah, exactly. That's always the worst. So it was the Mets won, the Yankees won, TDB was on. Me and my buddy, we were each a fan of each baseball team. We both loved the band. It was like, I mean, could the night get any better? Really? I mean, then you had Gabe after party. Yeah. Like I said, you know, it was late. It was like, it was, you know, I'm not a new jack. I'm pretty nocturnal. I like to stay up late. It was getting late on me. I was getting starving. It was just really like, I want to eat, but I want to see Gabe play. It was 1 a.m, like Chris said. You know, when do we leave this place? Kebby's doing some, you know, he's playing a little bit with the band.
Yeah.
You know, Bobby's out back burning with Bobby. It should be the new thing. Instead of backstage with Bobby, next year it's gonna be burning with Bobby. He'll get a whole new clientele to be interested in his fan base, because he'll tell you the same stuff. Crazy audio genius. He'll tell you that stuff when you're backstage burning with Bobby. You know, you get that. You get that whole vibe. It's awesome. It really just Capitol Theater is so weird. Like even the first night, me and my wife were leaving. And they're like, oh, excuse me, you know, can you move, like, not walk down this thing? It's like, and then you see like the band coming out the side of the Cap, and it's like,
yeah,
I'm not even trying to stalk them. I'm just trying to get to my car. Like,
well, you know? like even where we were smoking in that little area, there's that little building to the side that they were using for the Cap. That's, I don't know if that's where everybody hangs out, you know.
So, Chris, can I interrupt you right there and say, if anyone hasn't been to the Capitol Theater, do they not have the coolest intermission back area where everybody's just burning in between those two brick? It's like you see the staircase that go up. You see the balcony gutted, like from the underneath the balcony. Yeah. You know, and everybody, you know, and don't get me wrong, TDB, it wasn't that packed out there. I've been there for like Goose and other places where it's really, you know,
we're like this.
Right. You know, so you had some room for Tedeschi, but it's the greatest outdoor area in music to chill in between set break.
Yes.
It's the coolest vibe in the world out there. I mean, I love the Beacon off to the side there, and you know, but it's the Capitol Theater. There's no better place for intermission in the country.
No.
I'm gonna find a picture of it.
It's literally like an outdoor garden.
You're in between buildings. I hope anyone doesn't think this is like fancy or nice. If anyone think this is like, oh, I heard in Adam's cast, it's nice at the Cap in between. So it's you're in between buildings. There's nothing fancy about it. It's just so chill, and everybody's out there doing the same thing.
It starts from the top, from Peter, all the way down to the bottom. Such from the owner and all the people who take tickets and everything. It's just the vibe there. And I think that's what, I don't know if you read his book, but that's like his whole thing is from the top to the bottom. It has to be, you know, has to have a great vibe. And, you know, that's what he really works for when he, you know, with his venues and everything that, you know, from, you know, everything from, you know, wetlands where he took over till he bought the Cap and everything else, you know. And it's funny, I met Peter at Goose at Radio City. He was sitting right next to me in the venue.
This is what Goose would Trey when they did Radio City Hunger Site, that awesome right, like their best version of that.
Yeah. I met him at the first show. There did 2 nights, and I was at night 1, and then I went to night 2. Night 1, I was sitting right next to him.
Yeah.
And I was like, so when are you getting these guys to the Cap? Like, come on.
Well, now he recognized, so he'll go to me, he'll go, We were at Tedeschi in Beacon, and I see him on the subway platform, and he goes, he's drunk, and he goes, yeah, we got something big coming, you're gonna like it. And I go, so fucking just tell me what it is, Peter. Like you got to slow play me. I go, we're already at a Tedeschi show, so I know it's not Tedeschi. So he goes, no. I go, let me guess, Goose. He goes, yeah. He goes, just make your reservations for hotel before they start getting more expensive. So
yeah, that's the one thing about that area is. Even like I know we're talking about the venue the most, but there's a cool Mexican restaurant across the street that's owned by.
I slammed 2 tacos down before show. Yeah. It's amazing.
It's
amazing.
Owned by an old deadhead. It's got Grateful Dead music
the whole time. The whole place.
There's pictures of bands who've been at the Capitol. There's people's autographs on the wall, and we go there all the time. We have our dinner. We have our routine. That's the great thing. I mean, it used to be really cool. There used to be a hotel that we used to stay at, the Hilton, that was further down, that we used to go to. And after the shows, we would come back and hang out in the lobby, and the artists used to stay there. So you'd be sitting there in the lobby, and you'll see like people walking in, like Chris and everybody else just walking in, hanging out, or you get up for breakfast at the brunch and they're all there. It was such a unique atmosphere, and just a small little town, but with a huge music.
Totally cool. And anyone who's listening on Adam's Cast who's a traveler, there's an amazing hotel that's I've been staying at all the time when we go to the Cap. It's called the Opus. It's like 15 minutes away. But we were there. I was there this week. I stayed last night over, and like the Knicks were at the hotel. So like we're into Mikal Bridges in the elevator and everything, and it's like just like it's to the fun, right? It's like, hey, the Knicks are here, why not, right? We're at a Tedeschi show, the guy that like the doorman's a huge music guy, was all pumped for the Black Crowes that are going to be playing there in a few weeks. It's just and he tells me all the time, like, oh, they get such great
that's
acts.
That's it. I found it. Wow.
Yeah, that is
taqueria.
It's a taqueria, and they open a burger spot right
next door.
Yeah.
And it's interesting is the people who serve you food come through the front door because they cook everything next door.
Yeah,
and they come around because it's one big kitchen. But yeah, it's so fun.
I love it, Adam. You give a nice little plug. You found the place online and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Few people
I want
to
feel like I had the experience. What's that?
A few people go to the Cap in the next few years might get some Mexican now because of you.
I need to feel like I had the experience. So now I know. I said I want to know what the whole experience not only sounded like and looked like, but what the whole experience tasted like. And
the bathrooms are. I mean, I know you want to know everything, so you can't fit 2 people next to each other in a stall. It's impossible. People were much smaller in 1929, but it's like, I mean, it's impossible to get 2 people next to each other.
Which venue had the best bathrooms? I'm not asking. Well, I am asking, but I'm also thinking about it because it's not. That's come up too. Which venue has the best bath? I know that's a big thing at the new what they're building out here.
That's a big thing out west. What the bathrooms look like?
No, at the where the Clippers, the new Clippers.
Oh, sure, yeah.
What's the name of that? Intuit Dome or what that? Over the hell is the new one they're building? That guy Ballmer is all about the bathrooms. If anyone is seeing him,
what is that? The Save Mart place, right? Isn't that where they're playing?
The Intuit.
Oh, that's what it's called. Yeah.
Some crazy high tech venue with a lot of toilets. I heard though that it's not what they did is which is interesting. Instead of having like big gigantic bathrooms with a million different urinals and stalls and whatever, they kind of just have a lot more individual bathrooms, but like everywhere. It's kind of like the strategy.
That's smart. That's what a lot of people want these days: privacy. They could do their drugs in the bathroom, whatever they do.
Yeah,
that's what
Garcia is.
In the bathroom.
That's what Garcia is for. They have three bathrooms in the back, and of all the years I've been there, it was the first time I actually noticed the wallpaper. That has on the wallpaper is silhouettes of Jerry Garcia, and it's everybody that's pictures around the place is on the wallpaper. And all the years I've been there, I was in Garcia's going, oh shit, look at that. It's always something new that you find.
I want to ask my dad who we saw at the Cap because it's funny. Someone messaged me the other day. They want to interview my dad because I interviewed him on the podcast about his days going to the Fillmore East. That's primarily what we talked about because he'd seen every legendary act, was there for the Allman Brothers live recording and the album and all that. But he mentioned a few other venues that he'd gone to, fairly often or a handful of times in that time period. And one of the venues he mentioned was the Cap. So it was just kind of funny that TTB was playing the Cap, and I just randomly wanted to check out some of this interview with my dad back from 3 years ago. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I used to go to the Cap too." So I'm curious to see if maybe he saw the Dead or who.
You when you were living out east, you didn't go to the Cap ad?
No, I've never been there. Never been there.
Man, yeah, obviously it's so rare that Tedeschi plays there, and I wish they played there like every year.
Every year, yeah. I wish it was an annual thing.
I met a guy who lives over there and lives and he does like every day. He's a huge Deadhead. He went to Europe to see DSO and everything. He goes, last night was the first time I ever saw this band, and I go, dude, I've seen you 100 times. I've been talking your ear off about Tedeschi for 5 years. How is this the first time you've seen this band? He goes, I don't know. He goes, but man, killer. Yeah, just like, the guy lives in the area over by the Cap. He's like, he's a fixture at the Cap. He's not, I don't think he's the mayor of the Cap like some of the other guests you may have every now and then.
Sometimes you have to be pushed, I guess, to do something, even if it's good. But it's an effort to spend money on something and go somewhere. Yeah, I know Tedeschi Trucks Band. I know this event would be amazing, but maybe I don't want to spend the money. Maybe I don't.
Yeah, it's also Tuesday, Wednesday night.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the thing too. Is like we try to do. Both my wife and our teachers, so we try not to do, take too many. Yeah.
Yeah, my buddy who I went with is a professor, so he was just like, "Make sure you just arrange the schedule, bro, where you could just get out of town and teach the kids about Tedeschi tomorrow, or something." But let's hit the road. I want to be at the hotel early. I don't want to be rushing around.
The people who are not fans of TTB, it's not that they're not fans because the band is not great. If everyone was able to follow that, it's that they don't know. It's the exposure, I think, more than anything, and the whether it's getting out to the show or just getting exposed to the music in one way or another. It's just like it comes down to if kind of thing with this band. No one's ever been to a show and been like, man, they were mad. Who would say that? Who would think
Well, it's weird, Adam. So Brooklyn, I think it was like 2, right? First time I ever seen this. So there was like a line to go outside and smoke. And then there was like, and these couple was like leaving and the people at the place at King's Theater were like, no, that's the exit to leave. And they were like, yeah, we're leaving. And I couldn't help myself. Right. So I go, excuse me. And nicely, I was like, were you guys not impressed in the first set that you guys are leaving? And they go, yeah, it's not my thing. It's not my kind of music. And I go, oh, okay. Have a good night. And I mean, the first time in my life saw a full set. It's not like they
How
showed
old
up
were
yet.
they? How old
were they?
These people?
50s.
Okay, I guess it's not that it matters. In my head, they were either probably young or really old. Like I don't know.
No, it wasn't. It was in the Tedeschi wheelhouse for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's
and I was
a
just
lot
like,
of gray hairs at Tedeschi shows.
I went out to the side to smoke, and I was like, the whole time I was outside, 20 minutes set break, I was like. I was telling everybody would listen. I was like, dude, this couple left. Like, I was like appalled. I was like, really? I wanted to come drag them back in. I was like, I wasn't okay with it.
I'm almost getting a little angry hearing this story.
I wasn't okay with it, Adam.
That's why I probably wouldn't have asked. What I would do, which maybe is not healthy, I will rationalize on their behalf and be like, oh,
they had a family emergency.
Yeah, they must not be feeling like people are speeding. And I'm always like, pregnant woman in that car.
Yeah, and then someone told me recently it was like they showed up at someone that was like, oh, I had a similar experience. Someone showed up at the second set. I go, which is awful. I go, but that means they haven't seen the band yet. That's not even close to his worst. These people witnessed the whole set and then left and go, yeah, I can't imagine the second set's going to be any good because the first one certainly didn't live up to it. When, mind you, most second sets are typically better than first sets in bands. But to not even give them the chance, it was like I was real close to leaving the venue and chasing after them and, first argument, fighting at the Tedeschi show.
Give them a cone, maybe? Try that? I don't know.
Anything, right?
What's interesting, I was talking to the guy at the show, and he's from Massachusetts, and we just met at the show. And Susan is saying the place she wants to play, her big checkoff list is Fenway.
Actually, Fenway Park, yeah.
Yeah. She wants to play Fenway Park. And I was like, God, how are they going to do that?
Tedeschi truck. Susan Tedeschi wants Susan said she wants to play Fenway Park, the baseball inside the park.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little bit smaller. Even I guess
it's smaller than most of the venues because it's so old. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still how many people? 45,000, 40,000?
Yeah.
Plus, you'd have seats on the field.
Seats on the field, or
they'll
do general admission in certain areas. So
sounds good to me. Let me know.
Have you guys been to concerts at Fenway Park?
Yes.
And how does that go? How is that?
Baseball never translates the best.
Stadiums are not.
It's not meant for audio, right? I saw Paul McCartney at Yankee Stadium, and it was like two of my favorite things in the world: Paul McCartney and Yankee Stadium, and it was good, but it wasn't like the audio wasn't great.
But Fenway is smaller, and you got the Green Monsters that help the
acoustics. So the Green Monsters,
Pearl Jam at Fenway, amazing.
Yeah. I just took my son to Pearl Jam Fenway. So the Green Monster is where they put the stage.
Okay.
So it faces that way. And to be honest, if you're not on the floor, forget about it. Because if you're in the stands, some of the overhangs, there's so much old metal and everything. The sound just bounces like ridiculously up there. But the floor is awesome. We've been there, like, I was just there for Pearl Jam with my son.
Yeah.
We were right up front, and
killer.
It's
City
great.
Field has good audio. I saw Dead & Company at City Field last year, and I was very impressed with the baseball stadium. Not expecting much. Very good backdrop.
Yeah, I believe that because I don't know if they did it this summer, but they've done a few like concert summer series where they're doing like legit 12, 15 concerts over a course of summer. So they seem to be like. Well, that's something that part of their
since the Red Sox suck and we don't go to we don't make playoffs anymore. That's
almost this year.
500. Well, thank God. To be honest, I'm a diehard Red Sox fan, but I was rooting for them not to win because MGM is literally connected to Fenway. It's like behind Fenway, so it's part of Fenway. So their Tedeschi trucks playing there would have been the first playoff game. It would have been a zoo. There's no freaking parking. The parking goes from $20 to $60 to $70 because it's a playoff game, and you can't even get anywhere to eat or anything before a show.
I thought you were gonna say something about because you wouldn't be able to pay attention or go to both things. Like that's
he dropped the loyalty towards the Red Sox quick.
Yeah, I was like, dude,
as I mentioned a few years ago when the Mets were playing the Padres and lost in the playoffs, and I was at the Beacon. So
yeah, I mean, MGM is a great venue. The only thing I didn't like is they had freaking seats on the floor. It's usually a general admission like the Cap, but they had these fucking plastic chairs that were just like folding chairs, literally, and it was just ridiculous.
All the dancers and standers are gonna smash the chairs and get the boomers, the TTB boomers up front are gonna.
And this is a perfect
rowdy.
segue, and only a Tedeschi way. Even at the Cap GA, right? First night, I'm there with my wife, and I'm standing, and this woman goes, "Excuse me, can you move?" And I go, I mean, it's GA. I can only move left to right so much. Like, where do you want me to go? And it was like the total typical. It made me laugh because it's obviously been that ever sit stand. But I'm thinking to myself, this GA, like I can't.
It was a standing.
Yeah,
area.
like what do you want me to do? Not exist? That was the only other option.
Nothing drives. I'm sorry. I'm 6'3". I'm sorry. I'm a big guy. I stood in line. I got there early. No, you can't complain. You can't see really tough.
And I was in my head, I was thinking, I go, it's GA. I can move left or right like an inch or two, but it's like I can't sit down for you on the floor at the GA at the Cap. But I said only at a Tedeschi show you get somebody basically asking you to move at a GA where it's like. And so before when I was giving my rant and rave about the Cap, so this is where I think it separates for me the Beacon or anything else. So it's the arm, it's the less room you have. Everybody's and that's I get that's not for everybody. If you're claustrophobic, and my wife tends to be a little bit more as we get older. She doesn't. She said to me, she goes, I think I like the Beacon more than the Cap these days. I go, but it's just you're arm to arm, elbow to elbow with people. You're bumping into anybody because it's tight. But for me, like standing and listen to music, I don't know. That's the way I feel like it's meant to be. And that's just that's my little 2 cents on the cap. It's just it's tight but everyone's having a good time, swaying, dancing, listening to music, and nobody.
All I remember is I tapped my wife. I go, look, and so we were like on Derek's side, right in that little corner, and look up over to the other side. There's a guy standing in the balcony dancing like no one was watching, and it was cool because the lights were bouncing off him, and they like had a shadow on the wall, and we're all just sitting there pointing, and we're all just like, oh my god, this guy's having the time of his fucking life.
Yeah.
To stop and to see that, it was so cool just to stop and to turn around and go, oh my god, look at that guy, and I think that's the thing I've been trying to do mostly at shows is pull myself out of the show for a second and just like look around and see everybody and like, holy shit, look at all these people enjoying the show as I am.
Yeah, I do that at least once or twice.
Because especially after COVID, I was like, oh my God, I'm dying to go see it now. Like, I just want to like enjoy looking around and seeing all these people.
I thought someone did a really good job pointing out in like the app, like someone was like, oh, they did a lot of covers. And they were like, it's really not about the songs, but if you could hear the way they've been playing lately, and it's so true because it's like, wouldn't matter what they did. We're all huge TDB fans, right? We're on this cast or we're going to shows. It's so crazy. And I know people are going to be like, oh, I feel like they're a different band than they were at the Beacon 2 weeks ago than they were at the Cap. Like, it's crazy. And, I saw it myself. Somebody posted some stuff at the Boston shows. They were like, oh, Derek's. And I'm thinking, yeah, I just went to the Beacon. I went to Brooklyn. Like, he's no different than he was then. And then I saw him at the Cap, and it was like, he kind of is a little different than he was a week ago. And it's just so utterly crazy and mind-blowing to witness that it's really just like when people say, oh, well, every show, like, is the last one's the best, or they get better every show. It's like, yeah, I don't know if that couldn't bring more true than lately. It's just like, seems like literally within every performance is.
Well, it's interesting for a Boston show is when Susan goes, and there's my family, and there's a literal section of Tedeschi's all in the back, and it's
no doubt. I sat 3 seats over from Derek's mom at the Beacon. I mean, everyone was coming up to the whole show, like trying to, get some airtime with Derek's mom. It's cool. It's like, it's not just the band, the family gets
named their fan club, the Swamp Family. Family is literally in the title of their fan club. And I don't think that's an accident. So that's something we're probably supposed to embrace is like seeing each other. Obviously not as literal blood family per se, but
at the Orpheum, Papa Trucks has a freaking recliner chair at the soundboard for every show. And it's funny because like he'll just sit there and having a time of his life, and he has he's right by the soundboard. He has a great view, and he has this huge, big recliner chair they bring for him for that show, for that place every time they play there.
I think that all, I guess, audio visual art forms live on a screen, whatever it is, are meant to be taken in and by audiences who are kind of closely packed together. And the sound is meant to be heard in a way that's ideal, whether that's low ceilings, whether that's acoustics, whether it's comedy, whether it's watching a movie, whether it's seeing music, any sort of performance. I think it's enhanced when the audience is literally more physically close to each other, because you're there to take in the art, but also part of the experience is that as having the shared experience.
And I think you nail it in the sense of lately to me is, I did a bunch over the summer, and then now we're back inside. And I think I like Tedeschi trucks a lot more inside. As I'm it bounces off. Dissecting. I love them everywhere, right? But yeah, it's like when you get into the nuances of like what's your favorite this or that, like you can definitely compartmentalize a little bit more of what you enjoy. And I see them all the time everywhere, and I'm like, I don't know. I just don't think they're any better than they are at at a Cap, at a Beacon, right? Or at a Wang, right? Like, and I saw them outside. It's just as amazing as they are, it doesn't sound the same as a 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 seat venue. And they just, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's even
the soundscapes outside.
Yeah. I mean, when I went to go see them when they played the Garden, and I went to the Boston show, we had good seats and everything, and my wife and I were just like, it was fun.
Yeah,
we enjoyed it. It was
all
great.
the guests were great and everything.
Yeah, but it's not the Orpheum,
Right.
not the Beacon. To see them not do those shows, like it hurt. Like you're like, it's a routine in my family. We're like, oh.
Well,
Yeah,
Adam said
and
before, with like family, like I over these 6 shows in New York, the 2 Beacon Kings and now Cap, like I see some of these people. I've seen all 6 shows. I see more than I see my family members over the course of especially a whole year. Forget about the last 6 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it's been. It's really not that long. And you make connections. And like Adam said, it's not blood by any means, or it's certainly not gonna mean as much to you as you just really it's crazy because you met these people, whether it's at a Kofi event. I met a bunch of people at the Long Island Kofi event who now I saw at all 6 shows, and they go, Randy, before last week, you were at all these shows, but we didn't know each other, and now everyone, I cannot see you, and we cannot bullshit for a few minutes, and it's just brings it's church with the family. It's church with the family.
Or it's like my wife's like, you'll be sitting, like my wife goes all the time. She goes, who are those people coming up to you? I don't know. They just, we just sit there and start talking and bullshitting and, and we just talk about the band. And my wife's like, who are these people? Like, I have no idea. They just,
I'm trying to come up with a word for celebrity, not celebrity fans, but like you guys, it is kind of like we know each other. It's like, I don't know. It's Tedeschi fans, Celebriteschians. You are.
Tedeschi had
Zach, a handful of you guys.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we
all nuts. We're all nuts is probably a better term.
100%. We breathe it. It fuels my day. I mean, it's I saw Jeff Fink put something on his Instagram, was like inspiration is just like fuel that you need for the body. It's like, it's freaking awesome. It was a cool little but it's the truth. It was like I come back from these shows, I feel fueled up, ready to go. I can't wait till tomorrow, Friday. I don't have any shows. I don't have any shows upcoming for a little bit. But Tedeschi. I mean, I'll go see Marcus King in Brooklyn on Sunday. But it's that's it. Like, I don't know. I even a few weeks off is like, wow, it's so long.
I'll listen to the Cap show or some live thing the band is doing or some new thing that the band just did and whatever, and that will end, or I'll be done with that, and then I'll be like, I want to listen to more music, and I'll just keep listening to the band, or I'll be waiting for the new thing to start or be released or come out, and I'll be like, oh, while I'm waiting for that, I'm gonna listen to Tedeschi Trucks Band. This is a fan podcast. I do call it a fan podcast.
Yeah, man.
Good
South
stuff.
shows. You got what? 10 shows? 10 shows to end the year. They got I think they do
10 left.
They do New Orleans. They do Chattanooga. They do 2 in Raleigh, 2 in Charlotte, and they're supposed to do 1 in Nashville, which I honestly think will be canceled.
Yeah.
And I hope they do a benefit. I know Goose, the 2 Asheville shows they're supposed to do, they do in benefit shows in other cities, and all the money's going towards it. I'd be shocked if Tedeschi Trucks doesn't do something similar.
Yeah.
For the
maybe
Asheville
there's something I could do to help.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
If they need me to come down to the area that they were supposed to be at and help.
Yeah. There's the places destroyed by hurricane. Do they need podcasters? Is that what's going to be helpful? No, that's fucked up. It's
Oh, it's terrible.
Whoever you can do that.
And in Nashville, such a musically, eclectic town. You got all you get some big artists, obviously, that are from the area.
Yeah.
Warren Haynes is from Asheville, North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I know, like, there's been a lot of bands doing a lot of obviously work, and I'd be shocked if Tedeschi Trucks doesn't do anything, because I don't think that arena is anywhere near them being able to play it in 3 weeks. So
no, there's no way they will able to get.
Could they move the show somewhere else and do a show?
So they can. So it's funny in my head because I'm not a lunatic or anything, right? So the 7th and 8th is Raleigh. It's the only 2 Southeast shows I'm going to.
You're seeing who's
so
booked
the
in the
9th
area.
is supposed to be Asheville. The next day, the Saturday. And I'm like, do they stay down North Carolina and do a show down there? And that's the benefit on the day that they were obviously going to do Asheville. That's what all these bands have been doing. Obviously, they have the open date. They were expected to play, right? So do they do something? And I'm like,
what a job to figure this shit out.
I'm like, do I get an extra show in Raleigh because they stay down in North Carolina area and they do a benefit? got to fly the family down to meet me and make sure we we pay our dues to help the fellow citizens of.
It's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Anything else you want to mention or cover or talk about? I
just I want to say, even if you don't, Tedeschi Trucks is not playing and you see somebody you like at the cap, go.
Definitely.
It's worth it.
Trombone Shorty I saw was there in March. They got
the Black Crowes. Joe Roos is almost dead. I'm going to. There's always
J-Rad 3 nights in January every year. It's amazing. Yeah.
Do they do tours?
Who?
The Capitol Theater or anything like that?
Oh, of the place. That's a great question. I don't know. I never.
I mean, you could. I know. I get emails all the time about, hey, you can do your party here.
I took the flyer
Theater
home.
Tours.
I took the flyer home and I told my wife, because I told you it's like my favorite place on earth. I said, she got time. I got 6 years, but I said for my 50th, this is where I want my 50th. I want my 50th at the Capitol Theater. And I don't know how much money that is, but that's where I would love to do my 50th birthday party.
Unfortunately, I didn't mind during COVID, so I did it at home.
Chris, I just got that card yesterday that was like, have your private party here. I was like, sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, I had New York City planned to go down and meet all my friends in New York City, and we're like 3 weeks away going, yeah, this will blow over. Don't worry about it. We'll get together. But no,
dreams.
Yeah. And I, like I said, I highly recommend going to the cap, and maybe next year, maybe we'll all be at Fenway Park seeing Tedeschi Trucks.
That could be fun too.
I
wish I could get to everyone.
Well, they're playing their new material off their new album that we're all like, oh my God, I can't believe they did a double album. And it's not 4, but it's not a single one. And, we'll see.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll hear stuff. I mean, next year.
That's it. Well, I mean, you figure Sun, Sand, and Soul in May, and they obviously
talk. Oh yeah, we're gonna hear new music by then. Maybe not every
debut of that.
Well, it'll be out by. Well, maybe not. No.
They'll probably record.
Oh, right.
They'll record, then it'll take a while.
Tease some of that stuff at Sun, Sand, and Soul.
Be out in the fall.
Yeah. Fall in.
What are we gonna do with you?
All right,
we all do the same things.
Yeah, you had enough.
We're all nutty. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Adam, thank you, brother, for doing this, man.
Cheers.
Awesome.
Good connecting, Chris. Good stuff all around.
Chris, good meeting you, brother.
Nice meeting you.
Next time we'll have a drink at the cap. Now, I'll recognize the base.
Sounds good.
I'll see you at the Black Girls then.
Yeah.
There you go. Cheers, guys. Later.
Adam, have a good night, man.
Peace. So there you go. What do you got? Episode 176. Recapping TTB at the Capitol Theater, 10/8, 10/9. With Randy and Chris. Good stuff all around for sure. Hope everyone's doing okay out there. At Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube. Like the show. Share the show. Comment. All that good stuff is appreciated. Subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. Patreon.com/TTB podcast to support. I appreciate that. TedeschiTrucksPodcast.com. That will send you to a link tree to everything related to the show. AdamChoik.com for all my other stuff. TedeschiTrucksBand.com. That's their official website. Definitely buy. We're not going to get that many more shows. So you all better hop on tickets before the end of the year. See what's left. And get to the shows while you can. Buy merch. Join the Swamp Family Fan Club. Download the app. As it gave access to the nugs and all that good stuff. So that's super cool. But thank you to the band, fans, podcast supporters, guests, Patreon supporters. I think that's pretty much all I got for today. Peace, y'all.